a shadow that fell over Europe, altering the course of history itself. This wasn't just an illness, it was a societal force, a silent player in the courts of kings and the studios of great artists. Its arrival was sudden and devastating. At the end of the 15th century, as Europe was on the cusp of a renaissance, a new plague appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. It began with a simple sore, but soon escalated into a nightmare of rashes, debilitating fevers, and gruesome ulcers that could eat away at a person's flesh and bone. In its final, terrifying stage, it could drive its victims to madness before claiming their lives. This was syphilis, and its impact would be felt for centuries. But where did this dreaded disease come from? The most widely accepted theory points to the New World. It suggests that when Christopher Columbus and his crew returned from the Americas in 1493, they brought back more than just stories and gold. They brought back the bacterium terminating cholera. In the Americas, a milder, non-venereal form of the disease had existed for centuries, but when introduced to a European population with no immunity, it mutated into something far more virulent and deadly. The timing couldn't have been more perfect for a continental catastrophe. The late 15th century was a time of immense military movement. In 1494, King Charles VIII of France invaded Italy, bringing with him a massive army of mercenaries from across Europe. As this army marched through Naples, the disease exploded. The soldiers, far from home, frequented brothels, and the infection spread like wildfire. When the army disbanded, these soldiers carried the great pox back to their home countries, seeding it across the entire continent within a few short years. The disease was given many names, often used as a tool of political insult. The French called it the Neapolitan disease, the Italians called it the French disease, and the English called it the French pox. No one wanted to claim ownership of this horrifying affliction. Eventually, the name syphilis stuck, derived from a 1530 poem about a shepherd named Syphilis who was cursed with the disease by the god Apollo. In an era before germ theory, the cause of syphilis was a mystery, leading to all sorts of wild speculation. Many believed it was a divine punishment for sin, a manifestation of God's wrath upon a morally corrupt society. Others pointed to astrology, believing an unfortunate alignment of the planets Saturn and Jupiter. The rapid spread and horrific symptoms created an atmosphere of fear and paranoia, reshaping social interactions and public morality. The fear of syphilis had a profound effect on European society. It stigmatized intimacy and led to the closure of public bathhouses, which had been social hubs for centuries but were now seen as dens of contagion. Marriage contracts began to change, with some including clauses that would nullify the union if one partner was found to be afflicted. The disease respected no social boundaries, striking down everyone from commoners to nobles, priests to kings. It's believed that figures like King Charles VIII of